right, welcome everybody to a special edition of iSocial Talks. My name is Brian Fanzo, better known as iSocial Fans on the Twitters and the Meerkats and everywhere else that exists. And I'm excited. I'm going to talk to a friend from Arizona, and I am no longer in Arizona as of recently. But I'm excited to kind of go down a little bit of a wearable technology, sensory messaging, some new innovative things, and really something that really takes digital, in my opinion, to a whole new level. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So Eddie, welcome. If you could introduce yourself, give the audience a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into what exactly is TaxSpace.
Hey, Brian, again, let me do a quick shout out to the folks at Blab. The issues we had yesterday were probably more on my end. It was more to do with the particular browser I was using. But let me say this for the folks at Blab that, you know, and you guys that are listening and were kind of disappointed yesterday, this is game-changing technology. So there's going to be little things about it. But what I can say for Blab is I had two people on Blabs with me yesterday, one in Australia, Tristan, all, you know, just taking their time, sorting through all the details and helping me get that fixed. So look, I'll take full blame for what happened yesterday. I apologize, but hats off to those guys at Blab for keeping the technology going. So look, usually when I introduce myself, I say things like, well, I am the inventor of sensory messaging. At least I have a utility patent, you know, that says that. I am the founder of the company Tactonics and the developer of two products. One we call TaxSpace, which is the mobile app that you'll be using one day, I hope. And the other is the Tac Puck itself. Brian, you've got one of these. There we go. Yep. The Tac Puck itself is the wearable device we'll talk about today. But that's not who I am. You know, that's just what I do. I'm like probably a lot of people on this Blab. I'm a father. I am a husband. I am a brother to a sister. I'm a real faith, family, friends guy. I love sports, play a lot of tennis, a little bit of golf. I like snowboarding, and those kinds of things. So I've just relocated out here in Arizona. It's pretty hot here, Brian, but I was born and raised in Virginia. So I'm trying to get back there whenever I can to see my parents and my wife's parents. So it's all good, folks. I appreciate you joining today, and hopefully we can share something of value. And again, I can't wait to get your your content and your advice and takeaway.
So yeah, I love that, and for those that are listening, TaxSpace is currently doing an Indiegogo campaign, and we're gonna share some a special that's going on just because of this Blab interview that we'll kind of talk about at the end. But Eddie, I love the story. I couldn't agree more on being a proud dad and so much more. A shout out to you when we were going to do this interview, and I was excited to have you on, and you sent me some of the swag and the sensory puck, and you sent pairs of socks for my daughters with Frozen on it. And I tell you, my social philosophy, and I use the hashtag all around, and I tell everybody, is show you care. And I think, in a technology space, in a world where we are connected to our devices, and I love that. I love everything about technology. I feel show you care is all the little things. And I can tell you, you won over my family, you won over my wife. My daughters were taking pictures in their socks. And it really was, an element there of, the importance of family and kind of going, above and beyond just what, I would say the normal or the average thing is today. So I'm curious, we're going to get into really what this is, what the campaign is, what your tools are, and even probably a little bit more into your background. But before we get there, I as someone, I'm wearing wearable technology. I have 52 devices. Yeah, there you go. We're Pebble. We have a lot in common. You're in Arizona. I moved from Arizona. You were from Virginia originally. I'm living in Virginia. I went to college in Virginia. There's so much stuff that goes on that I love technology. I think technology is exciting. But maybe the term sensory messaging kind of scares people or they don't really understand what it is. But I tell you, for me, the YouTube videos that you guys have put out really talk to me, or really beyond what I would say words or a text message could do. So could you get into exactly what is sensory messaging, kind of keep it in the layman's term side, and then kind of break it down. And those of you that are in the comment section on Blab or you're watching on Meerkat or Periscope, feel free. I'm gonna ask Eddie a couple questions, bring in some of the story, and then I would love to bring you on video. I have One of our friends, Lindsay, is going to jump on and share her story. And then if you have questions throughout, just let me know. I'll be recording them. My community manager, Kristen Cardos, who is a rock star. Shout out to Kristen, getting up early for us out of Fort Worth, Texas today, supporting me inside there. So I see lots of my friends, Robert Stern, Tech Stud, the Australia the Australia blabbers are strong, and they showed up in force today. So a shout out to all of them. Thank you guys for using Tell a Little Bird. But so Eddie, what is sensory messaging?
Yeah, it's probably like a catch-21 in some ways. You know, you invent something, you have to give it some kind of name. If it wasn't unique, it wouldn't be a novel invention. But the phrase sensory messaging seems to kind of scare people a little bit, and it's probably been part of the reason it's so hard to get people to understand it quickly. So I think everybody knows what wearable technology is, and that's just gone crazy right now. In fact, the wave is so big, I'm sometimes concerned that we're a very small part of a huge wave for wearable technology. But let's think of it this way. If you spend time texting every day, reach out and show your love to Brian there. I mean, most of you guys on the phone are people who text, and I do too. I got to tell you, when I saw texting come out, I didn't really understand it. But if I wanted to have a conversation with my kids, I better figure out how to text. Well, the thing is, when we receive text and we send text, we're only using one, maybe two of our senses. What are they? Well, the sense of sight, being able to read, see letters and words, turn them into understanding of the communication that we're trying to do between each other. So I would tell you that we're only using a fraction of our brains when we communicate in this way. Touch messaging is something that we do every day. So Brian, you and I have never met. If I were to come out there and see you in Virginia, what's probably the first thing we would do?
I can tell you what, I turned tweets into hugs. So we would take a big hug, and then we'd probably even take a selfie right after that.
So we're on those kind of terms already, are we, Brian? So we'd at least shake hands or give a hug. Why? Because we're driven when we communicate to touch. Now, I'm not meaning that in a weird way. We hold hands with people. We slap them on the back. We touch them on the arm. We give them a high five. Look down at the bottom of the screen. What is the way to give your props to folks in Blab? Reach out there and give them the high 10, or if you will. So these are all ways to reach out and touch if we're in person. But what do we do if we're not in person? What do we do if we're remote? We want to reach out and touch. I think it's funny if you go on Facebook.
I can't touch you as much as I'd want to. And I would love, you asked the question there. How many people in the Blab that are in there right now? We have 63 people watching live.
Wow.
Type in a number one if text message is right now your first form of communication when you're getting a hold of someone, or type in number two if it's phone call or something on that matter. So a one if it's text message. Look at all those ones coming through. Hi, Ryan Hanley's in here. Cheers, Ryan. Robert Stern. Hey, Best Gov Con. How's it going? Kathleen. We got Lindsay, Ohio Social Mama. There's a two. So I think we had almost all ones. We had Andy was creative and said 1.5, and then two. So go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Touch.
Yeah, the point that I was trying to get to is that look at Facebook for a minute. You've got all these ways to reach out and communicate to people, but you remember, I think it's still there. You have that poke idea on there. Even on Facebook, people want to poke each other, right? They want to reach out and touch each other. That little nudge, that little I don't know, flirtation thing, maybe like that. So here's my question. Let's cut to the chase. What if we could communicate remotely using a wearable device where we could truly poke the other person? We could truly send a message using your other senses of touch, of sound, and of sight as well, to supplement the kind of things we do in texting. We use also sensory messaging, so that you're allowed to use some of your other great senses to interpret the message. And I'll give you more reasons why that is more attractive, to people, not the least of which it frees you from your phone, so you don't have to literally read the message every time. You can feel the message against your skin. And now with wearable technology, just simply Bluetooth paired to your phone, you'll be able to push that message from your phone to the wearable against your skin. You'll be able to feel that message without doing any reading, without doing any typing. Instead, you'd be able to feel the message in a discreet way where no one else around you will know that you're receiving it.
So I can tell you, when you were talking about it, going after your senses, I was curious if we were going after the sense of smell, but I think that would be an odd one if you could kick the device off and some smells would go off.
It's in the patent, my friend. It's in the patent. It's not even that difficult. So let's talk a little bit about sensory messaging. So think about, I'm going to give you a new word today, okay? The word is tacting, Tacting. So instead of saying, hey, I'm doing my texting today, or I sent a text today, you're going to be saying, I want to send a tact today. TACT is short for the word tactile. Tactile is a word that just simply means having to do with the sense of touch. Now, other technologies have used the word haptic messaging, which means pretty much the same thing. But we use the word tactile, and again, it is trademarked. So one day, I hope that we'll be talking about tacting as much as we do texting today.
I love it. Okay, so this is interesting. I'm seeing some great comments come along the side, and I'm going to bring some of those comments in because some people are asking about what that is, what the two-way is. But for me, I'm a big story guy. I love the story, and so I don't think you had mentioned, but what's your background in, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm a civil engineer by degree. I'm actually a professional engineer in the state of Virginia, by the way. Just got it renewed for another 2 years. But most of my career has been working in product development. So either on the product development engineering side or the application engineering side. So from that standpoint, I've been involved in developing products for a long time. But they were all like building and science products, let's call it. Products that you would see developed for high-rise buildings, for sustainable building design, green building design. I'm very honest and open. I don't suffer from a big ego. So I'll tell you that I don't know anything about consumer electronics. 5 years ago, when I got this idea, it was my first time delving into understanding, consumer electronics and how people use those today.
All right, so that's what I want to know. All right, so that background, what was the aha moment? What was the hey, I need to go down this path? Because I think that always blows my mind. I think that actually makes me fall in love with a product or a tool when you truly know, hey, where did this come from? What's the origin of kind of going beyond a simple text message? So let me hear that side of the story.
We're getting some awesome comments over here. I hope we're able to get to all of them.
Yes, I see some people asking about like some of the exact is it two-way? How does the system work? We're going to get into each one of those questions, I promise you. And if we don't hit your question and you're staying on Blab, not only are we going to have that special at the end, but I will bring you on camera. You can get face to face with Eddie. It's not as good as sensory messaging him, but I can at least get you eyeball to eyeball with him. So Eddie, what was that aha moment for you that kind of led to TaxSpace?
Well, I'll warn you, it's a bit of a story, but I'm going to keep it short as I can. For me, the first time I began to think about an idea like this really was watching other people's behavior, and how they were communicating. So the first story starts like this, Well, we had, phones in the home like everyone else. My teenage kids were growing up and they were on the phones all the time, right? Trying to fight them off the phone at home. One night I come home and I'm seeing my daughter, instead of being on the phone, typing away on the desktop computer. Back in the day, you had this thing called AOL, America Online Instant Messaging. Now, if you remember that, give some hands up to Brian there.
Yeah, I love that. I like to say I'm a pager-wearing millennial, but I am also an AOL Instant Messenger. I grew up with AOL Instant Messenger. I think it came out when I was in high school. So yes, I'm very familiar.
So think about that for a minute. Why would anyone want to talk? I mean, want to actually type their messages with no kind of feeling or emotion or rise and fall of the voice, rather than pick up the phone and talk to their friends? Why would she do that? That just really baffled me. All right, let's fast forward a little bit, and out come the cell phones. Everybody's got one. Everybody's using one. You can get on the phone and talk to whoever you want to, anytime, anywhere. Instead, we see people texting. We see people with their fat fingers on a little bitty screen trying to type out all of these things they want to say. Why would they want to do that? Makes no sense to me. It's like going back in time to the telex days when we couldn't talk live, at least long distance, so we had to type out our messages. We actually prefer it. We actually would pay more to be able to have text servicing rather than talk on the phone. For me, again, a fascinating human behavior. And
I would love everybody that's in the chat, and if you're on Periscope here, unfortunately, because we love leading with bleeding edge technology, my iPad decided to restart itself, and I thought it was a good time to do that now. So the Meerkat is down for the moment. But those of you that are watching and listening, I would love for you guys to let us know in both the chat and the comments, how many of you, when text messaging first came out, did it seem kind of like what Eddie's saying? We were almost going backwards in technology. I remember, I had like one of those Razor phones that didn't have a full keyboard. And I was like, why would I have to use, I have to type three times to get to a letter and then 6 3 times. But I do remember, my aha moment on text messaging was when I got a device with a full keyboard. And all of a sudden I was like, ooh, this is interesting. And I love the idea of text messaging. I will tell you that my icon for my phone is on page 3 of my iPhone, yet my text message is in the bar below that it never leaves me. So looking at text messaging, how did that kind of come down the path?
Well, I'm gonna tell you why I think you prefer text messaging. All right, and let's tell people that are on the Blab. You type in your comment. What are the things about text messaging that you like? And I'm going to throw a few of them out there. I've got like 5, but I'm just going to give you like 1 or 2 or 3. So the first one is discretion. Okay, believe it or not, people prefer to receive their messages in a way that's secret. And if I'm having a telephone conversation, everybody around me can hear it. Remember those days? So now people send text messages because you can receive that message, read it discreetly, and no one else knows. So I think everybody knows that. The other one I think is this age of multitasking. So if you look over there at Brian, he's an amazing guy. It's not that he talks fast. It's not that he tweets fast. Brian's product is what you see, on the screen right there. And he is an amazing multitasker. Am I right? He's had us on 3 platforms at one time today, and yet he's still drinking his coffee and having his breakfast. I don't know how he does it, but everyone today has some level of multitasking they can do. So with text messaging, you don't have to stop everything, put your phone to your ear. Instead, you can text while you work on your computer, while you're riding on a train, or while you're doing something else. So texting is great for multitasking. But I'm going to tell you what I think is the real heart of the reason that people like texting. If we talk, there's one level of intimacy between that. Other people can hear what we're saying, but when we're talking, if you receive a text, it's like being a kid in school that gets past a message. The fact that someone took the time to compose the letters, compose the words of what they want to say to you in a note, makes it more thoughtful. Wait a minute, this person's not just running off at the mouth and not just chatting me up. Instead, they took the time to write down what they wanted to say before they sent it. So somehow that's more thoughtful to people. And also it seems more emotional, I think, and considerate. So if I receive a text message and someone's had to write it out, they can't beat around the bush to the point they want to make. They got to get right to it. Why? Because they got to type everything out. So I think in some ways texting is more honest, more direct, and more intimate than maybe just chatting it up on a phone call or live.
I'm definitely one that nothing frustrates me more than someone leaves me a voicemail and says, "Call me." And I'm like, no kidding. You called me. I realize I missed your call. Why would you leave me a voicemail and say, call me? And I always think of phone calls in that aspect as very disruptive. It disrupts everything you're doing, right? Even if you're walking your dog, you're doing whatever you're doing that consumes you. But we're in this on-demand generation, which says we're doing all of these things. Rather than disrupting me, I would love to know what your message is, and then it allows me the opportunity to reply, respond, but also read it and kind of consume when I want to, not when someone else wants to. So I love that. So I love, I think Ryan Hanley said that he thought text messaging originally was a perfect alternative for voicemail, which I actually thought was spot on. I've seen some really good comments on there. Paul Bierman said texting allows leaving a record, which is definitely something else. I also think of texting as kind of going beyond, up and beyond. We all have 24 hours in a day, and we all love to maximize that 24 hours. You were saying multitasking. Most people say when they meet me that it's a myth. And I will say that I multitask because it's something I've been practicing since I was very young, being a little bit ADHD and side. But I love the idea where you were going, where really the phone call is a little bit more interruptive. It's a little bit more, not only is it disruptive, but is a little less personal. Especially, let's face it, marketers did a good job of ruining the phone call. When every single time at dinner, I remember growing up that every time at dinner you had 4 phone calls because it was the telemarketer coming to call your phone. So right. Okay, so you're in that space. So where does that lead to this aha moment? Great
question. I want to finish it up. So I told you 2 stories. A story about my daughter and a story about people in general. All of us on this blab love to text. We love to text. We might throw an emoji in there. We might throw a video or a picture in there, but we love to text. So my aha moment came when I asked this question: what's next? What's next? It's just that simple. And a lot of inventors will tell you that that's the question they put to themselves. And it brings us to the subject of today's blab. Is there a chance that texting could replace texting? And the aha moment came when I said 2 things. What's next after this? And the answer to that was, we'll give them more of what they want. How can we make digital communication remotely be more discreet, be more direct, be more thoughtful, be more helpful in multitasking, and be more intimate? Does that make sense? How could we do that? And the idea was sensory messaging. Allow people to receive the message so they don't have to go to their phone. They don't have to read anything. They don't have to look at anything. They can actually intimately, if you will, feel the message against their skin. Now, pair that with the new wearable technologies that are out there. And so for a fairly inexpensive price, you can get a wearable like this that you can wear against your skin with a simple app paired to it, just like our watches here paired to our phones. You'd be able to receive a message from someone else's phone to your phone, and then from your phone by Bluetooth to the wearable device so you could actually feel it. There's still a record of the tact message on a log that's on the TaxSpace app. So you can always go back and see if you missed a message. You'll have a record of all the messages, just like your phone log, just like your text log. So that was the aha moment for me. Why can't we make texting even richer by providing tacting so that people can make the messages, the way they receive them, even more discreet and even more efficient is a word I would say. So if we saw each other for the first time and we looked each other in the eye and shook hands, immediately a message would have passed. We wouldn't have said anything. We wouldn't have articulated anything. I wouldn't have been thinking about, well, how should I approach Brian? We would have shook hands, look each other in the eye, and a message would have been sent and received.
So I'm getting some questions that says, how does it exactly work? Some of the mechanics, where do we get one? We're going to drop the links in there. But I wanted to get into something real quick and this is really interesting to me. And I love disruptive technology, but so much of innovation right now, for those that are listening, and you might be thinking, really? Wow, text messaging? Why we're reinventing text messaging? I can tell you, I think the experience is what people are reinventing. And I think the most inventions are right now that are changing our world are really re-looking and asking the question, is this the only way we can do it? If you think of Uber didn't reinvent the idea of getting a car. We've been calling taxis forever. It actually made that experience unique. It actually embraced technology. It leveraged it and made it a better experience. So it goes to, let's say, and first thing I thought of when I thought of this was, wow, could be I can see a millennials. I can see a very, very young generation, the idea of kind of going above and beyond. And I think Tom Reed in the comments said a little earlier, a couple comments about really, where does this go above and beyond? He said, he always writes a letter in his notes so he can stand out. And I think standing out's a big one. And for those that are watching, I would love to hear your thoughts. Now, is this something a lot of people probably, like myself, when I first heard it, was like, I think this is interesting, but really? And it's kind of like I kind of put it in perspective like Snapchat was to me when it first came out. When Snapchat first came out, I wrote a blog post that said, this is the dumbest thing ever. No one will use it. It makes no sense. And I said, this just doesn't, I just don't get it. And then I started re-looking at it and figuring out not only how younger generations were using it, but really where Snapchat kind of came in. And not only was it allowed to be very personalized, but it was very one-to-one, and it was kind of going beyond just the typical social media that existed out there. And it allowed you to give kind of a personalized one-to-one message that really was discreet, but at the same time allowed you to really connect at a level you could never before. And those that understand the power of live streaming, Eddie, you found me, we kind of connected through social, but ideally you really found me through live streaming. And, we had very similar background, and that idea that we were able to kind of look each other in the eyeballs and kind of go beyond just the words, go beyond just a text, and really feel that emotion, feel that passion. That's why I feel when live streaming is making the ramp up for relationships online at a crazy speed, because you really do get to, communicate and reach out and really feel that person. Not feel them as if it's sensory messaging, but feel them, their passion. So I think this is really interesting. So when this was kind of coming down the path, I would love to get into some of the mechanics, because I see some of the questions going on. Thank you, people on Periscope. Thank you, everybody. It's Telling a Little Bird on the side here. We have 73 viewers watching now, which is awesome, because it is 9:30 a.m. on the East Coast. It is 6:30 a.m. on the West Coast. It is the Friday before a holiday. I will give everybody permission at the very end of this, after you hit the link for the Indiegogo campaign, that you can go on vacation after this. You will have my word.
Thanks.
So,
Thanks,
Eddie,
Brian.
I want to hear from you. Where did you realize that maybe you had something unique? Because I can tell you, wearable technology for me and for most people that are probably listening really was a watch and Google Glass. We know Google Glass failed. But really, how did you think of this as unique? And I actually love some of the comments and questions that I originally asked you. And when I did my Periscope, people wanted to know, how is this different than the Apple Watch? Where does the mechanics work? So we'll get into that. But I want to know, really, how did you realize that it was something that maybe will replace text messaging, or maybe it's the complement to show you care?
Well, guys, there's some incredible questions coming up over here.
Yes.
I want to answer every single one of them, and I know we can't do it all today. So, Brian, let's figure out a way, and I'm sure you know one. I would answer every one of these questions personally if I had the opportunity to. So, and the other thing I want to do is make sure we tell everyone that I feel like a little bit of a car salesman here, but we are going to make an offer here before the end of the blab. It won't be long. We'll give you a link and allow you to get to the Indiegogo page for just folks that are on this blab. We have not advertised this. No one else knows about it, but we want to make an offer available to you, because here, I'm being sincere here. We have all different ages on here, all different demographics on here, I'm sure. But I suspect that almost everyone on this blab are early adopters. They're people that want to be on the cutting, bleeding edge of technology. And I understand that your hesitancy. Let's face it, we didn't know texting was going to take over everything, we did when it came out, right? Just something simple as that. So I'm just asking you to give this some consideration, because again, I feel like, and I know that we're only using a portion of our senses when we're communicating digitally today. And it's sad. We have so much more potential as human beings to use other senses, particularly the sense of touch, to be able to do this. So other things you mentioned before, Brian, things like smell, they're part of the patent. Warmth and heat is part of it. Those are all parts of sense of touch. And you ready? Even shock, something we call spark. So you might need that later when your daughters get a little older, Brian. We can talk about that later. But I'm serious. These things are all part of the sensory messaging patent that is protected. So let me answer your question really, really quickly. When did I think we had something novel? When did I think we have something unique? All right. So first story again has to do with the daughter. When the daughter understood this technology and I pitched it to her and she understood it, she said these words. I'll never forget it. She said, "I was wondering what we'd be doing next." That's what she said. She said
Wow.
she texts and does all this social messaging stuff. I say this, and I know I'm a proud dad, but she said, Dad, I was wondering what we would do next. I've never forgot that she said that. Okay, so
That's motivation right there. To you feel like you got
one
something
teenage
right because
girl validates,
you don't get the. I'm sure you don't get the. I'm very lucky. I have the 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and 20 months. I get the as soon as I show up, I get the Daddy's here. But I see the time very soon that it's going to be. They don't even care that Daddy's around. So I'm sure that was very touching.
Well, you'll be able to reach out and tack them even when they're in college one day. Okay, so second, it took about 5 years, but eventually the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office did recognize sensory messaging and related methods in a patent. So when I received that patent, which was just this year, was real validation that, hey, no one else has this. No one else has this protected. So that was a great moment of encouragement, let's say for me. But probably the one that took it over the top was being very fortunate, unsolicited, to compete in an international competition on wearables. So several thousand people applied to be recognized as a leading edge technology in wearable technologies back late last year. And we were fortunate enough to be selected. TaxSpace was selected to be a World Cup finalist for the Innovation World Cup for World Technology. So I went to Munich, Germany back in January, I guess it was early February, and competed for that. So there, on an international level, having folks say, you know what, TaxSpace sensory messaging is something unique, and and something that solves some problems that folks recognized it. For me, that was kind of a moment where I felt like we had been validated.
I love it. I love it. I love the story. And there are lots of comments. And I can tell you what I'm doing is I'm copying and pasting anybody who's writing a question on Periscope or on the comments. I'm copying and pasting into a document here on the side. We're going to try to bring in each one of those questions. And if we don't get to them, I will make sure I'm copying the username as well. So we'll get some of those. So Eddie, from a standpoint of, how does this work? I think we're seeing lots of questions and lots of things going. Does it go beyond the vibration of your phone? How to kind of that differentiate? We both are wearing Pebble watches. I have a Jawbone on as well. So, can you get into a little bit of that? And I would love to hear some use cases. And then I know Lindsay, Ohio Social Mom, I'm going to bring her on video because she was actually saying she wished she had one right now so she could send a sensory message to her kids to stop going crazy in the background. But, can you kind of address that? How does that kind of work? And then really, where do you kind of go from there?
Okay. So, folks, the word sensory messaging, don't let it scare you. Tacting, that kind of thing, don't let it scare you. This technology is so simple. It's so simple. It doesn't require any new platform, any new infrastructure. You don't have to get a new phone. You don't have to have a special browser or anything else to use it. Think of it like any other wearable device. So Brian's wearing his Pebble watch. He paired that with his phone one time. Once he got that paired, he never has to think about that anymore. Same way, you'll be taking this puck, and there'll be instructions to show you how to do it simply one time. You get it paired to your phone. So the way the technology works is someone else would simply choose a message, almost like Snapchat. You would go into the TaxSpace app. You would select what message you want to send. Well, what do you mean by message, Eddie? Well, what kind of message could you send? Anything from happy birthday, happy anniversary, I'm sorry, I love you, I'm thinking of you, time to come home, meet you at the office, the same kind of simple text messages you send today. Now, let's face it, you're not going to be able to send a whole paragraph of something very unique and someone be able to understand what that means. That won't even be in the menu. But, for example, every day when I leave the office and make my way home, I send 3 letters to my wife. CHN, coming home now, just to let her know, dinner and all that good stuff. And she's trying to organize everything going on at home. So we have lots of text messages we send repeatedly over and over every day, every week. These are the kind of messages that will be in the menu. You open the app, you choose the message from a prescribed menu. That message is going to have a combination of stimuli that will include vibration, light, and there's even a pop-out button on the device itself. So there's a button, you can't see it so well here, but this button will actually pop out and you'll be able to feel that nudge that we were talking about earlier. We call it a nudge button. You'd be able to feel that combination of stimuli along with a little sound, and then there's a light halo around the outside. You can see it in this photograph in the background here. There's a light halo that'll be an LED color that will help you identify what the message is too. But I'm telling you, over time, the most common text messages you send today will be easily translated into TAC messages that you'll be able to feel and hear.
I love the little limitations about that, right? Because I believe not only does limitations require creativity, but also limitations also I believe are really the way that we stop getting around the bush. Nobody likes emails anymore. They give you 2.5 paragraphs of fluff and then the call to action. Get to the point. Don't waste our time. And so one of the questions that came in, can you customize the message? Is the message unique for the receiver?
That's great question. So the combination of stimuli means like vibration, light, heat, touch, all those things. The combination of that stimuli is what will be matched with a particular message. So let's pick one, just make it simple. So if you wanted to say, I love you, or I'm thinking of you, all right, the stimuli could be around the outer part of the puck. It would turn red. Let's say like the color of a heart, it would turn red. All right. Second, as part of the combination of stimuli, it would vibrate in a heartbeat pattern. Okay. It would vibrate in a heartbeat pattern. So it's red and I feel this heartbeat vibration. I'm going to know the second time I get that, I'm not going to have to look at my phone. I'm going to know that someone has reached out and said, I'm thinking of you or I love you. Now, the next question you're going to have is, well, how do I know who sent that message? And that's a great question. How many of you, when you receive a phone call or a text, have a different ring or tone based on the person that's sending you that text or that phone call? All right, Brian's got his hands up. Tap Brian's screen if that's
yeah, I would love to hear if you guys have customized ringtones for unique individuals on Periscope and on let us know if you have a customized one on ring number 1, and then in number 2 if you have like the canned same ringtone for every single person calling.
So why do you do that? My wife does it. Every one of our kids has a different ringtone. Why does she do that? So she doesn't have to look at her phone to know who's calling. We all want ways to free ourselves from our phone and to know from tones or ringtones who is sending or the message or who's sending the call. So in the same way, when you receive your sensory message, there'll be what we call a signature that'll come first. So let's pick something simple. The signature is up to you, just like you set your own ringtones for your circle of friends. But let's say you have 10 or 20 friends that you tact with very often. One way to do it would be to simply set this color around the LED light halo to be a particular color from your particular friends. So your wife is red, your buddy is blue, and there's like 20 different colors you can set that at. So you could do it visually just with the light. Personally, I love the idea of discrete messaging. I don't even want to look at this puck to receive the message. So there you could set up things like different vibratory patterns in terms of intensity and the spacing between the vibration itself to recognize the person. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, I'm never going to be able to do that. I won't know who sent this message. You will be able to do that. You will be able to do that. And you know what? If you can't do it or you miss the first few, let's face it, it's a learned technology. You can always go to your app and go to your log and say, oh, Brian did send me a message. He said, let's meet for drinks or something like that. So you'll still be able to go to your log, see who sent it, see when they sent it, and see what it meant.
So I'm curious. I love that idea. And I love, for me, wearable technology, like I said, for me, it seems like it's always been on your wrist or on your head, right? Like on your eyes. But I love the aspect of this that that doesn't have to be the only use case. My wife is a school teacher, and if my wife is a school teacher and she has, her locket in her pocket, or maybe she's wearing a necklace that has this on it, she can actually I can let her know I'm thinking of her, and she could be in a place where she can't receive a message. She's teaching these crazy high school kids that we have in today's day and age. So talk to us a little bit. And there's a question about really the rechargeable aspect, because I think we all know if you live with an iPhone, you live with a battery charger. It's like pretty much what we were at a restaurant last night in DC, and everyone was hovered around one outlet, and we were hot swapping it. So what about that? And then really, what are some of the other I saw someone ask like daily use cases, and then I'm gonna bring Lindsay on. Lindsay, if you want to jump in this open seat over here, I want to bring her on just for her thoughts on it. But let us know what are some of the places you can do it. I know I have one of the the bands here, but I'm just curious, what are some of those other ones? And then the recharging one, I think is a good question.
Well, that's a great question, and we like to say something silly at TaxSpace. Unlike other technology, including the watch, including the iWatch, unlike those wearables, we don't want to tell you where to wear your wearable. I know that's silly. But
no, I love that.
I'm dead serious. If you want to wear this wearable around your neck on a locket that you can see so other people know that you've received a message, let's face it, there are people like that. They're at the dinner and their locket on their necklace begins to glow and vibrate. They want people to say, hey, what's going on there? And you're going to want to tell them, oh, my boyfriend just sent me a message saying he's thinking of me, or my husband just sent me a message to say he just got home from work, whatever, okay? Other people will wear it longer underneath their clothing so they can just feel it against their skin, and they want to receive that message discreetly. You can certainly wear it on your wrist. We have wristbands available, as well as the one that I sent you. We're not really enamored by any particular one of those. Any of those are fine. We know this is part of a fashion statement for some people, and we want them to be able to wear it that way. But I had my daughter take a pair of socks that I had and actually put a pocket in the sock so that I could slip that in the pocket and wear it against my ankle, and feel the vibration as well.
I can tell you one of the first use cases I thought was really unique. My community manager, Kristen, is in here, and her husband is prior military. So shout out to all those that are serving around the world and those families of military. But he's a biker, and she said her first thing was, I can message my husband while he's on his bike and let him know I'm thinking about him, and he doesn't have to pull out his device. He doesn't have to look at a text message. And I laughed. I was like, wow, I drive a Jeep Wrangler. My Jeep Wrangler has the top down. I make it a point, especially in my Jeep, it has no doors, no windows, that I hide my phone away from me because I do not want to be disrupted, and I know I have a bad attack. So like to me, I love the idea of the creativity that where you could use it in different cases, you could customize different ways to use it. I think that's really, really unique.
Well, we looked at, to answer the second question, we looked at different power technology, okay? And a lot of the wearables that are out there today just have disposable batteries, right? You use it, it's good for a year or something like that, and then you pitch it or you replace a disposable battery. We didn't want to do that. We didn't feel like that was a sustainable thing to do. So there is a charge port on here, very much like your watch, Brian, that you'll be able to recharge the battery for this. And under normal use, now again, what is normal use yet? We haven't gotten the product out there for people to use. But under normal use, it should work easily for 5 days, just like your Pebble watch does. I charge mine out about every 3 to 5 days, depending on how much I'm using it. As far as wear and tear on your phone battery, again, same as your Pebble watch. It uses the new LTE, the low energy Bluetooth technology, which has just gotten better and better, and I think it will continue to get better to keep that energy down and keep you from draining the battery on your phone by using the puck itself. So those were the two questions. Was there one more?
No, yeah, and we have some questions coming in, and I have a couple of them here. But I want to get into a couple of use cases. I know a couple of the ones that you've heard and you were excited about, and we're gonna get to the Indiegogo campaign here in a minute. I also love that you're using Indiegogo. I believe in the power of crowdsourcing. I believe in the power of we together can drive innovation. We can not only drive it, we can fund it, we can be a part of it. I'm a huge Kickstarter and Indiegogo and really that kind of campaign. But I also I have to kind of be honest. Part of it comes down to, okay, you're the founder. You believe in it. We've heard that kind of story. There's also another element of, okay, where do other people kind of see where they can take this or where they think they can go? And my friend Lindsay's down there. And hi, Lindsay.
Hey, y'all. Lindsay's looking good today. Did you get your hair done just for this interview today?
No, I woke up and I went,
If you think Lindsay looks particularly cute today, I think you should tap her screen.
Give her some props
right now. I've been watching Lindsay a little bit on Periscope, and she's the one that taught me not to be so embarrassed by my first couple of Periscopes. I hope nobody ever gets to see those. And not to compare my beginning, my stage in learning this technology with folks like her and Brian that are experts. So thanks to her, I overcame my fear, and I'm willing to use stuff like Blab.
So I love it. I love hearing that. And I get to turn that tweet and Periscope friend into a hug and a selfie as I get to see Lindsay in New York in a couple of weeks at Periscope Summit. But Lindsay, Lindsay and I connected via thanks to live streaming, but I became a big fan of hers, and she's a proud mom, and we share sympathy pains on Snapchat of all places, on the crazy world that it is of being parents of young kids. But we also believe in causes. I'm on the board for No Kid Hungry. I'm on the social council for them. I really do believe in making a difference, and together we can really do some great things. I know Lindsay has a cause close to her heart, but she also, Lindsay, you watched my Periscope where I kind of talked about this, and you had some interesting, not only use cases, but things that jumped to your head. So give us a little bit about that story, I also want to talk about the cause. So I want to get that out there for those that are listening.
Yeah. So if you see me side glancing, it's because my kids are over there and I gave them food and they might attack each other. I don't know what's going to happen. So let's see if it works out. So I saw Brian share this on Twitter, and immediately to me, my son has a sensory processing disorder, and he is what you would call neurodiverse, I guess, and he has epilepsy. And so he has a lot of things going on in his brain. Basically what happens with him and some other kids, it happens a lot with kids that have autism and other neuro issues, is that when something is going on, like let's say that you're at the mall for Christmas and Santa's there and there's kids there and there's music there and there's music in every store and there's people there. That is, just think of all of the senses that are happening at that time. And the fact that you might not be able to process all of it. And see, he's right there. And so he just shuts down. Like he either one has a meltdown or two, he just shuts down and like literally lays on the floor. He is waving at you guys. You can say hi.
Hey.
I love it. This is my favorite part of live streaming.
This is my favorite part.
Hi.
Yeah, it's the real part. Hi.
Okay.
Great day.
So when he gets overwhelmed, like last night we were at gymnastics and there was just too much going on, and he got overwhelmed and he laid on the ground. So all right, thanks. So what I was thinking is I said, this would be a great way to take his focus off of everything that's going insane around him. And if I could send him a little, nudge or a little sensory message, that would pull his focus toward the tact puck, and it might gain his attention instead of me trying to say, where's mom? Where's mom? Look at mom, look at mom. And then I look like a psycho in the store because I cannot get his attention. And then people are looking at me and, you know how meltdowns are. And so you think of a normal meltdown and then literally, he can't get out of it until I can get his attention. So I was talking to some other special needs moms and they're like, oh my gosh, yes. If I could just find something that would pull my kid's attention immediately, that would be great. And then we can get them out of it.
Oh, wow.
That's great. Look, don't ever apologize for having your kid on there, man. He's amazing. He's doing the whole show.
He's looking at the fields. He's like, look at the people.
Yeah, look at the people. Brian, you were talking about application, basically, is how can TaxSpace be used? Can it be used to just send, messages back and forth between each other and communicate, without our phones and communicate using other senses? The answer is yes. And that's kind of the whimsical, fun side of the technology. But there's people like Lindsay out there and people writing comments like crazy over here about uses in the education platform or the education space. Military service people who are away from their families that can send and receive messages. If you guys could get to the website, taxspace.com, I promise you that Brian's right. There's some incredible videos on there and frequently asked questions on there that you'll get your answers to. And if you watch those videos, they're much better than listening to me talk. You'll definitely understand the potential applications. One of them we call Tac Tales. these are stories and scenarios of how TAC messaging can be used. Is a military serviceman or woman being able to send a sensory message thousands of miles away overseas from their phone to their wife's phone, and it would be paired to their favorite bedtime teddy bear, stuffed animal. And so if you know your kid goes to bed at 8 o'clock, you could send your son, you could send your kid a message, even if you're in the middle of work, in a way that they would feel it, in their teddy bear itself. So there's a lot of other platforms that Tactonics, my company, will develop products for, but we felt like TacSpace, the actual app, and the TAC Puck itself were the best way to introduce people to sensory messaging.
I love it.
Lindsay, thanks for joining.
And I travel a lot with my kids, and I'm very lucky. I have 4 drop cams in the house, and so I'm able to say goodnight via the drop cam technology in my house. So I can look at them in their room, I can say goodnight, but I can't reach out and touch them. I can't say daddy says goodnight or gives you that, the little above and beyond. And mine are 5, I'm getting a little emotional, but 5, 4, and 20 months. And I can tell you my 4-year-old is my princess. And if I could say, stay in your room, daddy will send you a message, and your teddy bear will light up, or even the band that you have around your wrist, daddy will let you know. I could see that as a not only something that I would use, but as a dad that travels, I don't know if I would be able to handle it before FaceTime, because that is a game changer. I can look them, but if I'm able to send them a sensory message, I think that also just adds to that. And then Victoria is a friend, a frequent blabber, and she had a question. I think you had another use case side of it. So Victoria, what say you? And thanks for jumping in. I know you're over in the UK working hard, so I appreciate you spending time.
Thank you for having me. And I'm really fascinated by this. And from a different point of view, I had a very ill grandmother, and we had a system where we had a care call around her neck, a care call button that would alert the health service if she had fallen, which would go directly to them, and then we'd get a phone call to say your grandmother's fallen, etc., etc., etc. So my thought was, is this something that could be used as like a 2-way communication process? So if it's like pre-programmed, so a parent would be able to message their elderly mother to say, are you okay? And then for them to be able to come back with it, I'm okay tonight. So there's that peace of mind. So
is it Victoria or Vicky?
Victoria.
Victoria.
Yeah.
And, Victoria, thanks so much for joining. And from the UK, I can't believe it. I'm delighted to answer your question with a yes. So also on the TAC Puck, there's a small button. There's one side of the TAC Puck that has the pop-out button that you receive the nudge. On the other side is a button for you to acknowledge that you received the message. So if a person was wearing the device and you were concerned, that are they okay, and you'd like to know that, and instead of her getting her phone, maybe she can't get to her phone or whatever, she'll be able to press this button, and they would immediately send a message back to whoever sent her the message to say whatever you wanted it to say. You would have to pre-program that. So most people would pre-program it to say, thanks for my TAC, or thanks for my sensory message. You type whatever you want, but it's going to go back to the phone that sent the message. That's amazing. I think the answer is yes, is that could be incorporated in there. The idea was not to take the wearable and make it really expensive and difficult to use. So you can't type out a sensory message on this puck. You got to use your phone for that. You got to use the app for that. Yeah. But you can simply reach over, press the button, and whoever sent you the sensory message, they're going to get a acknowledgement that, hey, I got your message. Thank you for sending it to me. Okay. Yeah. I have a good friend in the UK who came over and actually helped with one of the video shoots we had. And I wonder if you could tell me this. In the United States, man, we can put our phone to our ear while we're driving. We can look at our, we're not supposed to, and it's in some states and it's enforced in different ways, right? Like in New Jersey, you can't even put your phone to your ear. In other states like Georgia, half the people on the road have got their phone to the ear. Tell us about that in the UK, and tell us how a TAC Puck that wouldn't require you to go to your phone might help.
It would massively help. They're hugely strict in the UK. If you're caught on your phone, you're charged, basically. You're fined. It puts points on your license, can lead you to being banned from driving. So it would massively help.
I can tell you in Washington, D.C. last night, I went and met up with some friends in D.C. last night. There is a giant sign over the highway as soon as you enter Washington, D.C. that says, you will be fined and ticketed for using your smartphone device and it's only Bluetooth. And so for me, I immediately grabbed it from my cup holder because it's a tendency that I do it at a red light. I try to be better at not, and I immediately put it up on the dash as the Jeep because it was a GPS, and I left it away from me. And I was like, I don't want that. And so I love that there's some really great use cases going on. The visually impaired was one that that people brought up that could really send sensory messages to visually impaired. One of my favorite ones that I just never thought of until they just said that was said, pickup time at school. So you could send that message to the kid and the kid would know, okay, mom's out front or dad's out front. So I love that. Thank you so much, Victoria, for jumping in and answering your question. And so now I went from the UK till we go even further across the world to Cara in Australia. How are you, Cara?
I'm well, thank you, Brian. How are you? Hi, how are you? So I'm really interested in this. One, because I'm a mum of 2 kids. My daughter is about to enter middle school, which means she'll be on a separate campus to where my son is. And so the big thing is getting cell phones for them so that you can text the kids and say, look, I'm on my way, I'm coming. And I do that with my husband. I'll send him a message and say, look, I'm on my way. We're on our way home. So, can you please start dinner, all of those kinds of things. So that's one thing that I would say, look, this is perfect because it means that I don't need a cell plan for my daughter, because from what I understand, is it Bluetooth enabled? Is that the way it does it? Or
simple Bluetooth paired? Yep. As long as your phone or tablet is Bluetooth capable, you'll be able to use the puck.
So that is perfect for me. So the question that I had as well was, you were talking about kids. A social mom was talking about kids with sensory issues. So I have a degree in psychology, so this is where I'm coming from. So kids with sensory issues will often stick stuff in their mouth because they enjoy the sensory feeling in their mouth. Is it likely to be swallowed? Is it of a size that they would actually could swallow the device? I'm sorry, this is something that I need to know, and the parents will want to know. So,
well, I think it's a great question. This is the size. I'm holding an American U.S. quarter here, and this is the size. So it's a good bit larger than a quarter. Obviously, thicker than a quarter. I'm not an expert on child safety. I don't know if this would be a swallow hazard, or not. I'm being very honest.
For me, I immediately thought, I wouldn't, my kid would lose it if it was in that. So for me, putting it into, a zippered wristband or putting it into, and someone was asking about, Brian, I'm not sure you would want to send a message or send that little device in their bed. And to me, even putting it in something like a teddy bear where it has the zippered pocket, and then they can get the message or even the light from through a device. Like one of my first thoughts, Eddie, when you first brought this up, I thought, wow, there could almost be an entire market of devices that could support sensory messing, the tax-based puck, to where you had people designing toys, or especially for sensory, for some of the kids that maybe it was a special socks the kids wore that had, like, my daughter has giant Hello Kitty plush thing in the back of her sock, and I'm like, how is that comfortable? But imagine if that giant Hello Kitty had the sensory puck sewn into the back of it, and my daughter would get it on her wrist. So it's a great question. I love that this audience. Thank you guys, everyone that's tuning in, and we have 214 people. We've had 70 plus this entire time. The amount of use cases and people that are jumping in. And I see that my friend Ian said he has some things in the UK, Eddie, that he wants to reach out to you about. And I told him that you would get that. So thank you so much, Car. Do you have another question?
Yeah. Just to say, I know when my kids were in childcare, the thing that they said was, the film canisters for the old wind-on films, like the analog films, anything that would fit inside of that is too small. So, but that looks like it would not fit. It would not fit inside of it. So,
okay,
fabulous.
Thanks, thank you so much for joining. Great comments. And one of the things that I'm trying to do, and the reason I'm so desperate to get this product in people's hands, Brian, is I want the people to not only help fund this and get it started, but to help develop it. I think there could be a separate language just for the sensory processing ordered people that need that, and a separate language maybe for the blind that would be tweaked for their use. But the idea of using it in other, we call them peripheral products like stuffed animals, toys, socks, integrated into picture frames, into clocks and all that. That's all on the docket for the future, folks. And if you're thinking that way, you're in alignment with our vision. But for now, it's been an hour, Brian. This is a great, I could talk about this forever. We need to make this offer available to these great people before they need to sign off. And they've given us so much time already. So how do you suggest we do that? Are we going to put a link up?
Yeah, we're going to put a link. We're going to put the link out there with the offer. But before you go, I mean, the questions and comments have been amazing. And I feel that we really didn't get to everybody. So I'm going to make an ask for you, if you don't mind. Maybe near the end of next week after the holiday week, maybe we'll jump on and do another blab and really do a full Q&A. So if you're up for it, I think the audience has been so engaged that maybe they'll take the time, go look at the Indiegogo campaign, maybe pull the trigger and support, but also maybe go look at those YouTube videos and then come back with some additional questions and such. So we'll drop the link. Kristen can drop the Indiegogo link in there. But I do believe we're going to make an offer for, is it 24 hours, Eddie?
Yeah, the idea, folks, this is an unadvertised idea. We are running an Indiegogo campaign. We got about 38 days left on this campaign, and I'm going to be straight with you. We don't have a lot of traction, and that's why I'm bringing Brian in, and I'm trying to use every means necessary to get this technology, the knowledge of the technology, in the hands of folks out there. So the Indiegogo link is up there right now. Now, you've probably been wondering the whole time, what does this product cost? We plan on retailing it at about $99. So something that's much less expensive than an iWatch or something like that. We've had it up for early bird special now. I think we've offered 50 of them at $89, okay, on the Indiegogo campaign. For the next 24 hours, we're going to make 50 of them available for $59. So that's, if my math's right, about 40% off the retail price, only for folks that happen to have heard about it on this blab session today. So the link's over there on the right. There's other ways to get there. We're calling it the Blab Labor Day deal, but it's only for 24 hours. So don't wait till Labor Day, guys. I would just be very honored and blessed if you guys would get out there and support it. Use up these 50, we call them perks. Use up these 50 perks on there. Take advantage of that $59 price. I can tell you right now, there's not much margin or profit in those, but I want you early adopters to have the first chance to get in there and get it. And maybe that'll create the momentum we need to have a successful crowdfunding campaign. Now, those of you that aren't familiar with crowdfunding, let me just tell you this. Real
quick, Eddie, those that are listening on Periscope, I'll tweet out the link. So if you follow me, iSocialFans, and TaxSpace, we'll tweet out the link that those that are watching on Periscope that say we can't see the link. I will tweet out the link from my Twitter account. So go to my Twitter account. It'll be the top tweet. And for the next 24 hours, those of you that are watching, I'm going to pin that tweet to the top of my Twitter account. So if you go to my Twitter account over the next 24 hours, you'll see it as go ahead and that way you can see the link there if you don't have somewhere to write it down or maybe you forget about it. So, but yeah, go into Eddie, I want to give you a shout out before you get into the Indigo campaign and the crowdsourcing. I believe in the power of people. I believe in the power of crowdsourcing. I'm doing a keynote. My keynote, for those that are going to the Periscope Summit, I haven't really released the name of my keynote, but my keynote, this will be the breaking news on my side. My keynote is, the title is "We Are Greater Than Me." And I believe in the power of community. I also believe in the power of live streaming. I will tell you that I don't know if Eddie and I would have connected if it wasn't for live streaming. Although he's from Virginia, lives in Arizona now. I was in Arizona, just moved to Virginia. But I will tell you guys, there you go. And I'll make sure to get that out there across the board. We'll get that bit.ly out there. You guys take a screenshot. But I can tell you, if you believe in the power of live streaming, the power of community, the power of crowdsourcing, I think this is only the beginning of being able to do this. And I'm beyond impressed that we did an early morning after our technical issues yesterday, that we got all of these people on. We've had this much of an engaged crowd for a full hour. We will, Eddie, I'm gonna grab your time. I'm gonna pull you back on here next week. We'll do a full Q&A. You guys will be able to bring in more questions and answers. But I love it. So give them a little bit on that Indiegogo campaign, and then we'll let everybody go, and hopefully you guys support the cause. If anything, I'm gonna throw up the link. I'll lock in the time, but I'm gonna throw up the link right now to a future Q&A, so you guys can subscribe to it. The time might change, but at least you guys can subscribe to it and get a notification when we do go live with the Q&A. But Eddie, give a little bit of background on the Indiegogo campaign, and then we'll let everybody go.
Yeah, everybody's been really patient. Great comments. I'm going to answer every one of these questions. I love doing it. It's the favorite. It's the best part of my job. So I will get you an answer real quick on any Indiegogo campaign or any crowdfunding campaign. When you contribute, you're actually pre-ordering the product. You're not throwing your money out there like to a charity, which charities are good, but it's not like that. You're actually pre-ordering the product. And by doing so, you're providing the funding it needs to have the capital to be able to manufacture these. So we're trying to manufacture about 3,000 of these and get a minimum viable product in the hands of people like you, so that you can give us that needed feedback as a user. So if you want to be the first time user for this product, and you want to help us craft and evolve the product in a way that's going to be best for you and best for your friends, best for your community, then you need to get on there and do that. Now, if we don't reach our goal is $200,000 in 60 days. There's only like 38 days left or something like that. If we don't meet that goal, then your credit card's going to be credited, where the payment is not going to be made. If we meet the goal, only then, will your payment be made for your pre-order, and you'll get the product later next year, probably around June or July of next year. That's how long it takes to develop it. So I like to tell people, look, get in there, buy your product, and before school starts next year, before summer's out, you'll be able to have your product and enjoy it. But that's what crowdfunding is all about.
I love it. And I'm getting the link for the piece there. And, I do love the crowdfunding. I can tell you, I've backed a lot of crowdfunding campaigns, many that have been successful, and I've got the product, many that didn't actually make it to fruition, and even a couple that have made it to fruition and sold out. I can tell you there's a cooler that doubles as a generator and a blender mixer, and I didn't pull the trigger early. I waited, and when I went to go get what I wanted, I unfortunately missed out. So I will recommend, because of that, if it doesn't get funded, you get your credit back. I love that you clarified that. But if it does get funded, you didn't miss the boat. And not to mention, we're going to do this 24-hour blab piece. So yeah, make sure you guys check that out. And I'm going to drop the link. So I just set it up for a time next week. But Eddie and I will confirm, because I just kind of threw this at Eddie to jump on some more time. So the link, if you guys that are watching on Blab, if you click the link I just posted, that has a future Blab scheduled. I scheduled it just 6 days out. The time might change, but if you subscribe to that, you'll get a notification of it. And if you can't make it, you'll get the email replay from Blab of that actual session, so you won't miss out on the open Q&A that we'll have with Eddie again. But Eddie, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for using social and live streaming the right way. And, I love that you said that you're not the expert on it, but I also love that they might say millennials or those that are only, super tech savvy and love to talk on video are willing to not only embrace live streaming, but also do it themselves. And you're doing your own live streaming. You have podcasts out on SoundCloud. You engaged me on watching many of my periscopes and blabs. We had technical difficulties yesterday, and you held in with me on coming back today and sharing your time with the audience. So I just want to say thank you for that. I'm excited. I do believe in kind of the power of this. And I can tell you, I am gonna pull the trigger today on doing me, kind of backing this on this side, because I do believe in it. It fits perfectly into my we is greater than me, not only for crowdsourcing, but the idea that your community can reach out and touch somebody and let them know that you care. So I'll kind of give you the last words. We'll kick this off the record and let everybody jump into some other blabs, or maybe start their holiday weekend.
Hey guys, I'm not going to talk long. I want to give props again to Blab. I want to give props to Brian. If you go on this website, taxspace.com, there's a link at the top to Indiegogo. It'll take you right there. Or you can go on Indiegogo and search for TaxSpace, and you'll find it that way. in the Indiegogo campaign, there's some wonderful people who are supporting the campaign. There's frequently asked questions. All the videos are there. They're better than listening to me talk about it, but I do enjoy talking about it. It's not about me. This technology, I feel almost embarrassed to say it's my idea. It came to me, but it's really for you. We have a patent. We have trademarks. We have validation. Here's the one thing we don't have. We don't have you. We don't have users that are using the technology to give us the feedback to allow us to craft the technology to meet your needs. So that's the only thing missing right now is people like you. So there will be a recording of this. I would beg you, especially for our friends on the West Coast who couldn't get up as early as me maybe, to be able to see this recording and perhaps get interested. And we'll choose a time next week, Brian, that's a little more conducive to the folks in the West. All I can say is thanks to everybody. Until next time, get tacked.
Love it. And follow these guys on social media. Their social media team for TaxSpace is amazing. They engage you immediately. They'll answer your questions. They'll get over questions to Eddie. Eddie has been amazing on social back and forth. So make sure you guys do that. And until next time, blab you later. Get tacked.